But why floating? That's what I want to know, because that's something very different. That's something that is, has a lot of spirituality in there as well. You guys could have easily gone into a food and beverage business if you wanted to do something on your own, which probably you guys did. But why that?
Again, going back to that theme of continual evolution. And there's many ways you can evolve yourself as a human being. This is partially what you guys are involved with here at London Real, and very much so. You could almost say you're a personal development company with your courses and Business Accelerator, and what's the other one? The
Life Accelerator.
Life Accelerator,
yeah.
Right? So there's many ways to go about it, but float tanks are another tool in the tool belt, right? It's another way to look inside and figure out what's really going on for you. I remember first hearing about float tanks when I was in university at McMaster in Hamilton, Ontario. I was in a sociology class, and they were mentioning John C. Lilly and some of his early experiments with flotation tanks. And I thought to myself, if that would be the way to really get down to what's going on inside your mind and really see what makes you tick. Blocking out all external stimuli, right? And left alone, completely isolated with just your thoughts, essentially is what it becomes. And I remember thinking about that, I'm like, wow, I really want to try that one day. Continue playing football, got my head rattled around a little bit, so maybe forgot about it. And again, this is why it kind of leads into the law enforcement story and into the float tank story. To train as a police officer, I started doing martial arts. So I started doing everything. I started with Krav Maga, then I went into typical mixed martial arts regime, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, wrestling,
Cool.
Did all of that. And of course, because I was in that world a little bit, started watching UFC, and then got turned on to Joe Rogan, and then Joe Rogan turned us on to float tanks. I'm like, oh, that's that thing. That's that thing that I thought was so cool in university. And we researched it. At the time in BC, there was only one float tank, or I say in Western Canada, there was only one float tank available, and it was out of a woman's basement in Port Coquitlam. And we booked a session, we tried it, and after one session, we bought our own tank. And we put the 10, 12 grand, whatever it was, for a Samadhi float tank, which are amazing for home use, by the way. If anyone wants to float at home, the Samadhi brand is actually a great way to go. And we set it up in Mike's apartment, actually, and we started hosting friends and family, and we found out that, wow, this has some legs here. And I had a very early on profound moment within the float tank. And one of the beautiful things about it is it teaches you that everything you're feeling, everything you're thinking, everything that you're experiencing comes from you internally. It's all internally generated. This is why, when somebody says, they made me feel that way. Well, you let them make you feel that way, right? It comes from within you. And I had a very profound experience when I had that realization that, I went into the float tank, listening to Rogan, and thinking that I was supposed to have some profound, psychedelic type of experience, and it wasn't that. In fact, you're alone in the tank, and you're sitting there with your thoughts, and you're getting kind of restless, and maybe you get some salt in your eyes, a little uncomfortable, and I was like a little bit pissed off. I'm like, what the hell? Where are my visions? Where are my hallucinations? Never came. And around the 35, 40-minute mark, I'm not exactly sure, I had this thought, and it was, what if you were buried alive? What would you do? Well, you have a few different options. One, you could basically freak out and continue the short amount of your life in agony, or you can accept your situation and you can slip away peacefully. And once I had that moment of realization around acceptance, accepting your situation of where you're at, that's when I went really deep into the float experience. And I think that was really profound for me to have that idea of acceptance hammered home in that way, because it makes everything that's going on in your life okay. You might not be in the best situation in your life. Somebody might be going through hard times and struggling, but if you can be okay with that's just how it is right now, and then make steps to improve from that situation, that's way better than becoming a victim and thinking, oh, poor me, I can't get anything right, always happening to me, having that complete victim mentality and getting out of that mindset, accepting where you're at, and then taking steps to move forward from there, I think is one of the greatest teachings that I got from floating anyways.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor. Do you tell that to people when you put them in a tank now? Do you say, just pretend like you're buried alive?
No, I don't do that, especially because the number one fear people with floating is claustrophobia.
Okay.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard, but what if I'm claustrophobic over the past 5 years now?
Okay. They think that will be a problem, right? Does that mean it always is a problem?
Usually it's not a problem.
Right.
Usually, again, the habituation. Yeah. And I tell people now, the bigger challenge is after you get in there, you close the door, the anxiety wears away, which, by the way, flotation tanks are now being shown through research to be a potential treatment for anxiety disorders. I'll get into that a little bit. Okay. But when you shut the door and you're in there alone for the next 75, 80 minutes by yourself with your thoughts, how do you deal with that? How do you deal with, oh, I'm bored? And why are you bored? That's another question I ask people. Why are you bored? Because really, this is just a reflection of you, of what's going on inside your own mind. Yeah. And I really think that speaks on the idea that we've been so programmed, conditioned as people to look for entertainment from external sources.
Continue watching this fascinating conversation for free by clicking on the link below to visit our website, learn from the best minds in the world, and connect with a community of passionate people building the best versions of themselves. Just click on the link below, and I'll see you on the inside.